What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Got a classic Kentucky bourbon with this Henry McKenna. I was looking through the stuff. I was like, man, we never did a review on Henry McKenna 10-year. Bottled and bond. Couldn't believe it, but that's what we got today, guys. Check it out. Henry McKenna 10-year, bottled and bond. Kentucky classic. So this one, a little story behind the 10-year. Henry McKenna was an Irish immigrant out of Louisville, Kentucky back in the 1800s. So he starts making whiskey. He was only putting out like a barrel of whiskey a day. So I read a little bit about it. He focused more on quality than quantity. So a barrel of whiskey a day, starts making whiskey. Throughout the years, he ended up selling it's been passed to a bunch of his family members. His son owned it. Ended up getting sold to Seagram's at some point, and then Seagram's ends up selling the company to Heaven Hill, who currently owns it. There was no 10-year whiskey, though, before. Heaven Hill, with its mass production, they ended up being able to age the whiskey for 10 years and puts it out as a bottle and bond. I don't know the mash bill on it before, but right now the mash bill currently is 78% corn, 12 malted barley, and 10% rye. But most of those whiskeys, like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, all the Heaven Hill stuff is a lower rye content, which is right up my alley. So coming from a Scotch drinker, I like me some malted barley. So barley whiskey is my cup of tea. So having a lower rye content, less spice, and more malted barley, where you get more of a roundedness from the whiskey, I find. That's what this mash bill kind of brings with it. But let's get into it, guys. Pretty much a bourbon color on that. Not much to talk about. Let's get into the nose. So not dark bourbon notes to it. It's more of like a lighter bourbon, but rounded. Obviously, you get caramel, but there's a dusky kind of corn note to it. There's a classic Heaven Hill nuttiness. Almost comes off as like maybe like a walnut nut. But lighter notes to it. Sometimes with that corn, you get like a dark fruit. I do get a cherry note to it. But it's classic bourbon nose. You get cherry, you get caramel. You get that dusky corn note, which is kind of like almost classic Heaven Hill. And you get that nuttiness. Let's get into the flavor, guys. Man. Heaven Hill. All day. So, on the flavor, you're getting vanilla cream. It's very rounded. You're getting caramel. You're getting vanilla, obviously. Caramel, vanilla, and cherry is almost like it's classic bourbon. That's really what it is, but it's very creamy, rounded. That you would get more from like less rye and more malted barley. There is a barrel spice in it. Comes in about mid-palate. Fairly long finish in the whiskey for a 10-year. Flavors don't really tucker out that quick. You're looking at a moderately long finish on it. Pretty good. Very, very creamy on the taste. So initially, right whenever you taste it, you're getting like a vanilla cream. A little slighted chocolate. Heaven Hill, like you get that nuttiness flavor to it. Finish is still kind of finishing right now. Very, pretty long finish for a 10-year. 10 years is a fairly long bourbon, where most bourbons are blended from 6 to 8 years. This one you're getting the youngest whiskey in its 10 years. So me and Ryan was talking about this Heaven Hill Henry McKenna a long time ago, the 10 year, the bottled and bond. So he said there's a huge discrepancy as far as bottles. Like some bottles are bad, and some bottles are great. But I could see that maybe because I mean every barrel is different. They put the barrel number on the bottle. This is barrel 13329, and this is actually barreled on 1/17/2013. So it's a fairly old, bottle. It was barreled back in 2013. But anyway, I have 2 more bottles of this just stocked away. I guess I didn't get to this one, but it was getting kind of low, so I figured we'd do a little review on it. I've never noticed that big of a discrepancy with it. I've had, good bottles, and I've had really, really good bottles. I've never had a bad bottle of Henry McKenna 10 year though. It blew up whenever it won a whiskey award. It won Whiskey of the Year back a couple of years ago, and at that time it was like $38 a bottle. But even so, I mean, it blew up. All whiskeys went up. Bourbon in general has gone up in price. Right now, you can pick this up for $60 a bottle, roughly. I think I got that one for it's either $59.99, $62, so roughly about $60 a bottle. They run at $60. I mean, it's a damn good bottle of whiskey at $60. I think it's still worth the price, even though it went up from 38 to 60. Couyons rating on it, we'll go right into that. 8 out of 10. It's phenomenally good. Classic bourbon flavors. Long finish. Classic Heaven Hill. You get that nuttiness to it, the creaminess to it. It sets it apart from other bourbons with that, but it also has that classic bourbon, like a cherry note to it. You got your caramel, but it's good whiskey. It's phenomenal bourbon, really. And it deserves an 8 out of 10 from my book. That's what we got with Heaven Hill. I know you guys have had Heaven Hill bottled and bond before, the 10-year version that I'm drinking right now. Obviously, it's a different barrel, but let me know in the comments what you think about it. Give us a like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. And we love comments. Tell me what you think about this whiskey. And we'll see you guys on the next video. So.